company policy allow can manage up to 4 departments. So I can be manager, computer science, and computer engineering, electrical engineering, and the technical management. Up to 4. At that time, this will be the 4. Minimum, the 0 department manage. Maximum 4 department manage. Similarly, each department must have the manager. How minimum? 1 manager. Okay? Maximum, if you allow the co-manager, like the up to 2, we can change 1,2. So this one is the cardinality of this side. So a lot of time the student confused. So this is called the min-max notation. So using the min-max notation, you can specify the cardinality of the relationship more details. Let's see another example, like the Oxford. This is the many to one, the relationship, many to one relationship. However, if your company has the policy, all employees should have at least 1 department. For example, if you newly hired the new employee, should be assigned to the HR, like that. So at the time, employee should be assigned to the department minimum 1. Okay, works for 1. And maximum, so I cannot work the multiple department, only 1. Then at the time, maximum 1. Okay, so even though it's the many side, this is the number of participation of the other side. So you should be careful. What about the department? Department, so for example, we need the manager and secretary and so on. So to create the 1 department, we need, for example, at least 4 employees, minimum 4 employees. Okay, and maximum, there is no limitation, unlimited, like the n. So minimum 4 employee and maximum the unlimited. So this is a 4, n. So it should be careful. At that time, we don't have to specify double line or single line, because if you see the minimum both sides is the actually double line. But we are able to understand whether this is a mandatory or the optional. Okay, so this is a min-max notation. In your project, it doesn't matter whether you use this one or the min-max notation. Min-max, when in case of using the min-max notation, you should be careful. But this one represents for each employee, how many participants. So that determines the number of the other side entity. Okay, so this is the min-max notation. Okay, then any other thing that you cannot understand from the EI diagram on the handout. One more thing, the really last thing. Sometimes when you determine the key attribute, so name plus number is the unique. So I try to use the name plus the number as the key attribute. That may be possible. This is a composite key. Name plus the number. At that time, you can use the connected underline to clarify. If you do not connect, it will be one key attribute, another key attribute. But sometimes it may be possible together. It's a unique. So at the time, you can use a connected underline. That will be the same, the notation later when we decide the primary key in the database. If you don't know what is a primary key, don't worry. You don't have to worry about it right now. So, but the primary key is a key in the relational database. At the time, so some of the primary key can be composite primary key. The combining several attributes. Okay? At the time, please connect. Many of the students ignore the such a connect, which means it can be one key, so maybe confused. Okay, so let's quickly take a look at the slide. So to So this is an example of the entity that I can identify. This is from the car and vehicle database. You can see that in this case, the car is the entity type, it's an entity, and the number of attribute. What about this one? It's a multi-valued color. You can see that each entity here. So it's a red, or a red and a black. It's a multiple value. So in case of multiple, double line. What about how many key? 2 keys. One is the registration. Actually, registration is the composite key, the state plus number. Okay, so it's a state plus number, but to clarify, we also add another attribute. As the composite, the attribute is a registration. Vehicle ID is another one. So we can easily understand. So this is what we have done before. So work zone in this case, because it's the identifying the entity type. So to represent the work zone in this time is the attribute of the employee. But eventually it will be later relationship. So you don't have to worry about too much whether I put the here or not. So it will be almost the same time simultaneously work. So this one will be the entity type and the entity or attribute, or this one will be the relationship. So this is sometimes a dilemma. Some of the attribute can be relationship also. Like for example, when you create the database, there are a lot of 1 to 3. 1 represents the Middle East, and 2 represent the West Coast. 3 is so on. So you can create directly use such a value as the attribute. Or you can create another entity that describes the code, okay, the number. That happens a lot. The computer science code is 111. So you can use 111 or computer science directly. So many of the database uses such a small table. It can be attribute or either it can be another entity. Who decide? You need to decide which one will be better, considering the performance or the management later. So sometimes after you design the database, there is one table, but this table a lot of the small table. This is called sometimes called the code table or lookup table. Okay. However, it can be part of the attribute of the entity. But it depends on your decision by considering the requirement and performance, also application analysis. There's no general solution. Okay? So this is what we got here, the same as that one. So this is slightly different, especially for the double line or single line. But you can understand the meaning of that. Okay? Then we can use a different notation, like this one. Where is it? Here. So, not this. So this is another. I went back. So this one. So we can use the min-max notation. The double rectangular double diamond is called the weak entity, and this is called the identifying relationship. And this one is called the derived attribute. It's not required, but it's your decision. If you need it, you can add the derived. Okay? And in case of multiple keys, so you can use the underline, and this is a composite attribute, and so on. What about this? You are familiar with this. UML diagram. So this is exactly same as this one. Okay, but using different notation. So actually UML diagram are not totally different from the ER diagram. It's very similar, and you probably realize I already learned such a thing in the object-oriented programming (OOP). Yes, that's true. So we can use even the UML diagram notation to represent such an ER diagram. It doesn't matter. You can easily understand such a thing. Also, next week when we are going to have the exercise lab for the ER diagram, okay? In this case, how many entities? It's a full entity, so it doesn't take a time. It's not painful, even though the mistake I can erase. But what if I have the 2,000 entities and the 3,000 relationship and 10,000 attributes? It will be really complicated if you are going to manage such an ER diagram manually. So we are going to get the help of software. So to get the help of to manage the huge size of the modeling, and from time to time, we need to change this one, so erase and draw again. No, instead we can just add and drop and so on using the software. That is the modeling software. So for example, there's I think a list of that. Here, so there are a lot of such a software. Some of them are the free, the others not. Among them, like some of the modeling designing tool is for the project management purpose. It's not just for modeling, so it's the entire project you can manage using the software. Nowadays, the modeling tool is part of the project management tool, or even for example, if I create one entity, it's automatically create the table in the database. And also it's automatically create the component class. Okay? When you design using the UML diagram, some of the tool automatically create the class. Then you can just add your logic only. Right? So it's a database modeling tool is the same thing. Many of the students, even many of the projects, use even the Visio in case it's a small database, because Visio is easy drag and drop. So it doesn't matter what software you use in your phase one, but not handwritten. Okay. Then most popular one is the Irwin software. That we are going to use Irwin software is the modeling tool. Starting from the modeling tool, right now is used for the database, the design, modeling, and the management tool. So which means if I create the one entity, it's automatically create the one table in the database. If you drop the database or change the database, that automatically apply to the ER modeling and so on. So that software we are going to use the next week. So please, so does the Irwin provide the free trial? Yes. So you can download the free trial. I think the GA will give a little more information and install on your laptop. Then we will practice how to. It's just a software, okay? Not design, not the concept of the design, the modeling. So to be familiar with using such a tool, why don't you download and install the Irwin software? Then in the class we will. If you don't want to install the free trial, so you can actually contact the GA. Then did you contact the Omar? No. So department has an old version, licensed one, but I think you can download and install the free trial. Then for educational purpose you can use. The GA will give more information about that. Okay, then except couple of things I'm going to explain the next week on Monday with the extended or the ER modeling. Okay, that's it. And we will have the GCP lab before we start. Homework by the next week, Thursday, 1 week. Please find sample database description like this one, university or company. It's no more than 1 page description, which means it's quite small database description. Then create your own ER diagram. Okay? ER diagram. Next week, the Monday, we will learn the extended, additional feature of the ER modeling. You can consider the extended part, even though right now you don't know. Just from the internet, textbook, or the reference book, any other source, please find the half page to the 1 page size the project description, or you can create by yourself. So you can search the existing database course in other university or the institution or the Google or the whatever, any source to find the project description. Okay? Not just to take the photo, at least the typing the project. Some of them are too long or the too complicated, not clear, so you can feel free to revise the description. Then, based on your description, by following the step, create your ER diagram. Okay? That is your homework. So your homework includes the project, the database description, like this one. Okay? And your ER diagram. Okay? Please not handwritten. I'm going to create the canvas, the submission side, then you can submit your. Okay? Then, some of them are very similar or the same, because if you search the Google, like the sample database, so one of the popular one is the NHL database. I don't know why that is popular. When I assigned such a homework the last semester, some of the students, the NHL database, or another one is the dormitory database and the library database. Those are popular, but it's for your practice. Okay? If you have just a simple database, you learn that much. Not too much complicated. Some of the students is 2-3 pages long, the project description, and you don't have to, but the half page is pretty much half page to the 1 page description, then the 1 page size the ER diagram. Okay, then I'm going to combine your submission, then we'll hand out again. Then you will see. You can practice. We have around 50 students. You will see around 50 different database sample. Okay, for your practice, you can refer such cases. And in your midterm exam, I'm going to select 1 or 2 sample the database for your exam. Exactly same. And sometimes a little bit massage to reduce, to simplify, but it's mostly basically the same. If you are lucky, you will get around 20 to 30 points automatically if your database is selected. Okay, so please submit by the next week Thursday. I'm going to create the canvas, the submission site. So half to the 1 page project, the database description. Okay, you can feel free to revise for that. You can just copy and paste and use it, or you can revise. I strongly suggest to simplify. Many of them are too much complicated, not clear. Then create the ER diagram. You can use the software, you can use the Visio, you can use any other tool, but not handwritten. Okay, handwritten even I cannot understand. Some of the students just handwritten and take the photo. That will not be accepted. So instead, at least use some tool to model them. Okay. So that is the homework by the next week Thursday. Then we will have the GCP lab. Before we start, I'd like to quickly introduce what is the GCP. So, what is a cloud? Cloud is it's a cloud, which means it doesn't have the static, fixed the architecture. There is an architecture, but for example, if you go to the IT service at UB, so probably IT service will manage the list of the server. So server A used for payroll, server B is used for the registration, server C is used for the database of the employee and the personnel and so on. The beginning of the middle of semester, while the student are registering, registration server will be very busy. But after that, nobody used that server. Okay? Which means even though we have the computing power, that cannot be used for the others. Okay? Similar thing happened in the ticket sale. There is who is the most popular singer nowadays? I know the Justin Bieber. After that, I do not know. So, like the Justin Bieber ticket sale. So there's a concert in the Mohegan Sun. So probably nowadays not, but a long time ago when he was popular. So there are a lot of transactions at the one time. Okay, over the 2 or 3 hours, the time period, it will be very busy. For that, like the millions of transactions at one time. Do I need to purchase all the infrastructure? It's the cost a lot. So instead, the using cloud is we have anyway the physical, the infrastructure of the computing power, but it can be dynamically changed. Sometimes a number of servers will be used for the A purpose and the B purpose, and the different dynamically we can change it such a configuration. That is the idea of the cloud. Then we can use such a cloud computing for business. Like I have the startup company. I just started. I do not have the money, but I need the computing power. Can I purchase or even rent the computer system? It costs a lot. Okay, but even I do not know how many node of cluster I need. I do not know. At that time, you can use the cloud computing. Then start the 1 or 2 instances. Then, if you need more power, dynamically add. Also, they will consider your number of transactions or usage. So they will build based on whatever you use. You don't have to purchase such an infrastructure. So there are different types of the cloud computing service, like the infrastructure as a service. They provide the entire infrastructure. You don't have to build your infrastructure. Instead, in the cloud side, you can do. And the platform as a service. So it's a small component, smaller than the infrastructure, but I need something component, the platform, like the machine learning platform and so on. So that is a service. Nowadays, service as a service, like I need the payment transaction, but you don't have to implement it just as a service using the RESTful API. You can use. Nowadays, it's possible. I have the donation side. You don't have to create the payment card transaction or whatever. Just Google Wallet or the other such service you can purchase. So this is the cloud computing. So nowadays, many of the IT environment quickly move to such a cloud computing. It's not only the small personal purpose, even the mega size, the company and the big company, they move their service, their IT infrastructure, IT platform into the cloud computing. So it is, and also even developing application program use a lot of such a cloud computing. So since the last semester, I try to use such a cloud computing research for your practice and the implementation of the project for the database also. So that is the overall idea of the cloud computing. Among them, I decided to use the Google Cloud. It is true the Amazon Web Services is the leading company in the cloud business. So AWS is the mostly used cloud service. I have used one time in the class the AWS. AWS is easy to use, but first it requires credit card. Some of the international students do not have the credit card or are scared to put. Even when I used as an instructor the AWS, I forgot to delete the instances. So that automatically the charge the $30 for the half of the year. So it might be possible. So such a thing. And also second reason, the AWS used a very nice web interface. So you can just log on and see click, that's it. That means it's good for non-computer science, the user. to use the such a service. They may not realize the behind what's going on, but for my student, you should understand what is the basic, the fundamental of the cloud, like the virtual machine. And for the virtual machine, so like especially in this class, you are going to create the virtual machine on the Linux system and create the database instances to understand such the behind the processing. Google is much better. Google mostly uses command line interface. For those who are not familiar with the command line interface, you need to spend a little bit time. But it is true in the real market and the production system in the industry, command line interface like the Unix shell, Linux shell are more popular than the graphical user interface to use the infrastructure and computing the power. So please be familiar with that. Is the reason that I select the GCP. Okay, Google has the data center worldwide, like this one, and they are connected. Even they have the backbone under the sea. The Google owns the backbone. Most of the company they do not have, but they are actually the pay for between the Europe and the North America, along the Atlantic Ocean. So there's such a the backbone line, but Google built their own, which to reduce the network, the bottleneck. So which means it doesn't matter whether your database is created in Asia or Europe, but you may not realize. But you can specify the location of that. And also these are the components that the Google GCP provide. When you see I briefly introduced, but you can check I uploaded several documents, and you need to get familiar with the name of that. Compute means your server, like your laptop or the Linux server or the Windows server. Mostly is the Linux server. So and they support the Red Hat, the CentOS, Debian, the most popular the Linux server, as well as the Windows anti-server. But when you are using the Windows server, it's not the graphical user interface. You can just log on, and as a command line interface you can use. Then this is called the compute engine. The computing server has the different one. So you can see the app engine. You can see the platform as a service. App engine means I try to build a website. What do you guys need to do? Buy the computer, buy the domain, and install the operating system, install the web server like the Apache web server, and the setup, configure everything. It's painful, and sometimes you do not know without experience. So App Engine provides such a old platform for the web application. You can just specify I'd like to use the Django as the application server, the web server. And I'm going to use the Python. Select and click, then it will create the web server. That is the App Engine. Okay? Then, Compute Engine is exactly same as the computer. You can create the virtual machine. But for example, I'd like to use the Compute Engine for my web server. You can create the Compute Engine, which means you purchase the computer, then you need to install the web server. So that's the difference between more flexible. This one is easy, but this one is more flexible. Okay? And the container is for the application level. Okay? So we are not going to use a container, but nowadays this one is more important for the developing purpose based on the Kubernetes. It's like including security, network, and everything as a component. Okay? It's like the ship. To travel to the Europe, okay? To travel to Europe, you need to purchase the ship, and you need the captain, and the GPS, and everything, and the custom, the immigration. That will be contained here. It's not like building the new country or whatever, but for the specific component, you can have all the needed component as the container engine. This one is nowadays more important for developing purpose. Then the simplify. You don't have to worry about the security and the network balance and so on. So this is a computer. We mostly use the App Engine for the implementation, application part. And the storage, we need the storage. So like it support the Cloud SQL, which is the same as the MySQL. So we are going to use the MySQL throughout the semester for your practice of the SQL as well as for your project. And in addition to that, there are the storage type. So cloud storage is a little bit different from the file system, but the first time when you are beginner of using the storage group GCP storage, you can understand this one is your file system. Okay, Google Storage, this is a database and so on. In case of the big data, when you have the large amount of data which is not relational database, the Google also support the big data. So another class that I'm teaching, the 651, will use such a BigQuery and so on. So it's getting important nowadays. So like for example, my company decided to use the big data and the processing. But what am I going to do? So instead of the configure, processing, and the setup, you can just start with this kind of the cloud service. This is also very interesting, machine learning. So I heard that the AI, the machine learning is important, but I do not have idea how to start. I try to use the natural language processing for translation. Most of my customer is in China, but I do not know how to use the Chinese. Then at the time you can use for example, natural language processing, translate the API. It will be translated automatically. Also, I try to build a voice recognition application. Do I need to purchase? Yes, you need to purchase such a voice recognition and what they implement the API and so on. Instead, you can just use such a speech API. So, the machine learning component, algorithm, and the application are provided by as a service. So very simple to use. Most of them are based on the RESTful API. Okay. So if you are not familiar with the RESTful API, Google it and get familiar with that. So you can, but you need to pay all of this. It's not free service. Okay. Based on what? Based on your usage. If you use the 10 transactions a day, you can just pay by the number of transactions. Okay, some of them are expensive. Nowadays, it's more widely used. Like you probably heard about deep learning. In the deep learning, one of the very basic example of the deep learning is a convolutional neural network which identifies the object, like which one is cat, which one is dog, for example. So how do I start? I never used such the neural network or the Python. I do not know. Even I have a data to classify, like the good student, bad student, the handsome or the beautiful or something like that. I try to have such a machine learning. So do I need to implement? No. Instead, nowadays even they support the customized training, custom model, the machine learning service. So you can just pay the $500. Then submit the 5,000 images, then they will train automatically and provide the model. So that is the kind of the usage of the GCP. Then, so in this semester we are going to use the App Engine, and some of them are using the Compute Engine. I'm going to split, but you can check the link, the more detail. And for the App Engine, it's not fully supported all the cases of the web application server. One of the examples is the Django with the Python and so on. You need to check the Google document what kind of them are supported. So it will be very simple. So you can implement it in the local and deploy. That's it.